Good night, everyone. Welcome to the award shows to top all award shows. It is hashtag this just in, and it is the 2022 NBA Awards. If we're doing awards, I have to bring two of the best. So you all know my family by now. Go talk with Marcus, Jerm from Stuff About Sports. Guys, are y'all ready for this?
Yeah. Let's just get to it, man. I knew I was thinking about this show all day.
Marcus, you don't look ready for this.
He looks off the.
Hello.
Great start to the show, Marcus. Straight from Hawaii.
Hello.
Straight from Hawaii. He doesn't know what's going on.
No, I didn't switch to my. I just got in the house all of 5 minutes ago. I didn't switch to my mic until just now, and the audio went out for a concerning. I'm good.
You're good.
Good. I told Justin a couple. Let's see. Justin and Steezy jumped me the last time I was on the show, and I realized that a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was a lot of blockages up here because I hadn't had a haircut in a while. Now that I've got a haircut, and I got my man Jerm on the show with me, Justin. You're in for a long night.
Yeah.
You're in for a
Well,
very
since
Yes,
you warned
sir.
me then, I'm going to start with Jerm. You're not getting me early in this show. Jerm, you have a horse in this race, and by that race, the big one, most valuable player. It is indeed, for most of us, a three-horse race. Defending champ Nikola Jokic, your own player Joel Embiid, previous two-time winner Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who is this season's MVP, Jerm?
Without the illusion of bias, and no disrespect to the other parties involved, but the answer is clearly Joel Hans Embiid.
We are shocked.
And it's a shocking development I just dropped on you guys. And here's the problem with MVP voting. The last time this MVP straw poll was taken, Joel Embiid had 45 first place votes. Jokic had 43 first place votes. Since then, guys, the averages: Embiid 30, 12, 3, plus 47 or 4.7 plus minus, 10 and 5 record. Okay. Jokic 27, 13, and 8. So explain to me why Jokic has 62 first place votes over 29 first place votes. And it's for the reason that I told you guys the day of the trade, James Harden. This is where the eyes will fool you. James Harden is there, and the illusion, word of the day, is that Jokic is doing it with less help. Even though with all those gaudy numbers that he's doing, he's barely making the playoffs. He's fighting for a low playoff seed, 5th seed now. They made it up to the 5th seed. Okay. So, we're the Sixers for the longest. Joel Embiid has had to deal with Ben Simmons. He's had to adjust to whatever you want to think about James Harden. He's an all-world talent, right? NBA player. Just not looking as great as it probably should be looking considering all the hype. But he's still a high-end player. And everything else. He should have won it last year. Just he got hurt. There is something. I don't understand this love fest for Jokic. Dwayne Marcus, the artist formerly known as Dwayne or Marcus, depending on when you met him.
I love it.
That is true. Depending on when you met me, that is true.
Tell me, the NBA All-Star Game's we're not under the illusion that the All-Star Game's a big game, but tell me, what is the most important quarter of the NBA All-Star Game in any given year? Fourth quarter. Guess who played 0 minutes? 0 guys in the fourth quarter of the NBA All-Star Game this past year.
We're not using an All-Star Game as a game.
This is true.
No,
this is true.
I'm going, hey, word of the day, illusion. I'm just giving you what the onset is. Who was on the court during that fourth quarter? Joel Embiid was on the court. Giannis Antetokounmpo was on the court. And Justin, you said that it was a 3-horse race for MVP. I agree with you. It is a 3-horse race. It's Joel, it's Giannis, and it's Luka Doncic. Enough of this Nikola Jokic, the most boring player I've ever seen watch play basketball. He's the greatest boring player I have ever seen. Oh, my God. And then what do your eyes tell you? Illusion. You look at the numbers. It makes you say, Nikola Jokic is great, Mr. 0 minutes in the All-Star game. But Mr. Dwayne Marcus, tell me, when you watch them both play, who would you want leading your team? Joel Embiid. You know why? because he's Kobe, Jordan, and Embiid out there. He does it all. Takes you off the dribble, plays point, brings the ball up, passes, dunks, turnaround fade. No hezzy Jimbo from the elbow. Nikola Jokic with his slingshot, catapult, ugly ass jumper from the that's all he got. And yeah, he can throw a nice pass because that's all they do out there in Serbia. He plays soccer. His hand-eye coordination's great. Good for him. But if you're looking at the eye test plus the numbers, you can't go by win shares. Mitchell Robinson has more win shares than Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. So I don't want to hear about win shares and box plus minus. You know what? You put Joel Embiid in a box and you put Nikola Jokic in a box. Guess who I'm picking? 9 out of 9, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 times. Joel, Hans, Embiid, the soul of Philadelphia. The floor is yours. Hold on. All right.
You're going to need that when I bring my numbers.
The floor is yours now.
No, the floor is Dwayne Marcus. I don't expect you to go with Joel Embiid because you have no stake in the Philadelphia 76ers. Who is your MVP for this season, my good friend?
I'm not an idiot. It's Joel Embiid. Like Nikola Jokic is a phenomenal player, and I'm not going to bash Nikola Jokic here, but people want to talk about win shares, offensive and defensive box plus minus, value over replacement player, and PR. Let's talk about those things. As Jerm mentioned, higher win share than LeBron James, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic. We're not putting him in the MVP conversation. Kevin Love has a higher offensive box plus minus than Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan, and CP3. We're not putting him in the MVP conversation. Okeke, never heard of him, quite frankly. He has a higher defensive box plus minus than DeAndre and KD and Jason Tatum. Van Vliet, Freddie Van, Federico, as one Drake would call him. He has a higher value of replacement player than Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan. Montrezl Harrell has a higher PER than Jason Tatum, Steph Curry, and Devin Booker. None of those 5 guys are in the MVP conversation. Now, is that to say that Nikola Jokic doesn't deserve to be in the MVP conversation? No, because Nikola Jokic has played most of the season without Michael Porter Jr. He's played the entire season without Jamal Murray, and those are things that have to be recognized. But Joel Embiid is the best player at the position. He has been, dare I say, the most dominant player all season. And Justin, since you have somehow over the last 3 months or so turned into a numbers guy, when that happened, I don't know. I clearly wasn't here for that. I'll give you some numbers. The last 2 times a player in the NBA had at least 10 40-point games with 10 boards, they won the MVP. It was Bill Russell, and it was Russell Westbrook. Guess how many Joel Embiid has? He's got 11. Both of those guys had 12. And we talk about this James Harden thing. Joel Embiid has had several 40-point, 10-board games when James Harden's on the roster. So the James Harden thing doesn't really matter that much to me. We have also seen James Harden completely disappear since being on the Philadelphia 76ers, namely that game against the Brooklyn Nets. His first game against Brooklyn since joining the Philadelphia 76ers. Terrible. I love Nikola Jokic. I think Nikola Jokic is great. But, let's be honest here for a second. Joel Embiid is quite frankly unstoppable. There's not an answer for Joel Embiid in the National Basketball Association. If you want him to post up, he can post up. You want to hit a mid-range, he can hit mid-range. He can bring the ball up the floor. He can pass the ball. Does Nikola Jokic have better assist numbers than Joel Embiid? Yeah, obviously. But let's not act like Joel Embiid can't pass the ball. Let's not act like Joel Embiid can't play defense. Let's not act like Joel Embiid can't rebound the ball. Let's not act like Joel Embiid can't go out there and give you 40, 15, and 10 on straight post-up game alone. He can also do that from all 3 levels. So Joel Embiid is hands down MVP 100%. If you want to put Nikola Jokic in the conversation as well, you can do that. But I'm with Jerm too. And this is not me hating on Giannis, because Giannis has I can do nothing but respect Giannis at this point for the talent and the greatness that he is. But Giannis is not the third man in this race. It's Luka Doncic. And I know that's not a sexy thing to say because it's Luka and Luka's got a bad rap, but why are we acting like the things that Luka does and what he has done in Dallas this season is just worthless? Who we want to talk about not having hope? Who does Luka Doncic have? Who is on that team in Dallas? So yeah, Nikola Jokic might not have MPJ and he might not have Jamal Murray, but he's still got Aaron Gordon. And Aaron Gordon's not a sexy player, but Aaron Gordon is a better second fiddle than any person you want to name on the Dallas Mavericks roster. So if it's me, if I'm ranking MVP picks, I'm going Joel Embiid 1, Luka Doncic 2. I'll put Nikola Jokic at 3. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 4. Now, I know this wasn't a part of the question, but I just feel like I have to say this because it's important to me. And we talk about MVP criteria. And one of the things is always it's the best player on the best team. If we're being 100% honest, if they didn't have such a terrible record, and I think I'm going to make someone on this thing smile here, LeBron James would be the MVP of the season this year because what he's doing this season is just completely insane. Like, and I've seen, and I know that Jerm just dropped his head and that's fine, but we're not going to act like if the Los Angeles Lakers weren't, 10, 12 games under 500 right now, fighting for the last spot in the play-in, that LeBron James wouldn't be in the MVP conversation. Because who at the age of 37 in their 19th season has won a scoring title, which is what LeBron James is a week or so away from potentially doing. Having a scoring title at age 37 in year 19. It's not a sexy pick. It's fine. The Lakers suck. And I'm not saying that LeBron James is the MVP. All I'm saying is if LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers weren't sitting here fighting for a spot in the play-in, LeBron James would be the MVP of the season. But that's not the case. And so as I said earlier, as I just gave to you, Joel Embiid is hands down the MVP of the season. Giannis Antetokounmpo does not deserve to be in the top 3 of that conversation. Because if we're being completely honest, he's missed games. He's missed a lot of games. But like Kevin Durant has, in my opinion, a stronger MVP case than Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because again, let's talk about help. Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday's been there since day one, alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo, if I'm not mistaken. KD's basically been playing by himself all season when he's been there because Kyrie Irving has been there for only half the games. Okay, and I said that, but I'm saying if he doesn't miss those games, Kevin Durant's MVP as well. And I think even with those games missed, he has a stronger argument for MVP than Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because if Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't play basketball this season, the Milwaukee Bucks still make the playoffs. Like, let's be serious. This narrative that the Milwaukee Bucks are hot garbage without Giannis Antetokounmpo, I really can't get behind it. Because you, Sir Justin Marvel, came on my show a couple months ago and tried to argue me down that Chris Middleton is better than DeMar DeRozan. And I still don't see it. But Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday could still take that Milwaukee Bucks team with what they have and bring them into the playoffs. Are they championship contenders? No. But can they make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference? Absolutely. All that being said, Joel Embiid's the MVP of the season. Luka Doncic second. You want to put Nikola Jokic third, that's fine. But Justin, you're going to sit and you're going to try to convince me that Giannis Antetokounmpo is the MVP of the season. And quite frankly, anything outside of Joel Embiid is hot garbage. And I'm going to protect myself from such blasphemy. So you go ahead. I'm going to just...
Before you go, Justin, you said 2 things, Dwayne. You said
what's up?
Assist for Nikola Jokic. I'm glad you said that because I had an important stat because I had to debilitate our friend Justin because I knew he was going to go there. 22% of Nikola Jokic's assists are on dribble handoffs. People acting like he's Steve Nash or somebody. All right, so let's get enough with the assist numbers. Okay, sorry. And LeBron James is not.
And you thought I was the one that was going to make you put on the hater blockers. Oh, that was me.
He put them on before I started talking, Justin.
Because I could feel it. I knew we couldn't.
Afterwards.
We couldn't get through one show without talking about LeBron James. They're not in the playoffs.
I had to. No, they're not. No, they're not. But I'm saying if the reality was a little bit different and they've won more games and this worked out a lot more than they thought it would, I think LeBron James would have it wouldn't be so laughable to say LeBron James in the MVP conversation.
Did not have LeBron James in any of my notes I made on purpose. Neil can tell you. In none of the graphics is the LeBron James. In none of my notes, in none of my numbers, the name LeBron James nor the Los Angeles Lakers are not in my notes.
That's fine. That's because Justin, you like taking the sexy pick. You like the chick picks. You like the low hanging fruit. You don't ever want to go get the ladder out the shed and dust it off and climb up a couple rungs to get there, man. You like the low hanging fruit.
No. So I hate comparison, right? Because we have a saying, comparison is the theft of joy. And when you make a case for one, it sounds like you are knocking the others. So let me quickly say this, right? There are 3 players who are worthy of winning MVP. And my pick does not mean I have a problem with Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo. Actually, before the start of the day, preparing to write notes to say Giannis Antetokounmpo was the MVP. Until, and I saw Jerm and your attempt, but it was feeble. I saw your attempts to destroy numbers. The problem is, while you were picking 1 and 2 and 3 numbers, every single
maybe 5.
Every single advanced metric that I look for, there's one man leading it. And let me say this: the reason also I believe it's a 3-man race, right, is that the 3 in this that I have in the race, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid, are ironically 1, 2, and 3 in PER. That's not a coincidence. So here we go. Not just the MVP candidates. I'm talking about the entire league. Not only does Nikola Jokic lead the league in PER, he leads it. Are you ready, Neil? He leads it in PER. He leads it in win shares per 48 minutes. He leads it in offensive win shares, in offensive box plus minus, in value above replacement, and in those advanced metrics. Do you know why that is so like impressive? Nikola Jokic is 11th in usage rate, while Giannis and Joel Embiid are 2nd and 3rd. So it says not only is he using the ball less, in the less possessions that he's getting, he is more impactful with the possessions that he uses. Guys, the advanced metrics can't all point to one man, and we're coming up with somebody different. You can't have a guy leading in win shares per 48 minutes, offensive win shares in box plus minus. You can't have a guy leading in every single one of these. Not only has he played the entire season without Jamal Murray and most of it without Michael Porter Jr., on top of that, the 2 guys that we want, or the 1 guy that you're talking about in Joel Embiid, with the help he's had, has 1 more win.
What help?
Than Nikola Jokic this season. 1 more win.
What help? His second best player all season has been Seth Curry, except the last month of the season. And it's not a coincidence that that's when the drastic change, even though within that time frame, Joel Embiid has just simply been better. Did you watch him the other night? 44 and 17. And
Have
then
you been watching Nikola Jokic?
You're giving me advanced stats. Yeah, he's 5th seed, but a few days ago he was the 8th seed or 7th seed. Like the numbers, they're the West is close, and it's a weaker conference now. The West Conference is weak. You know, the Eastern Conference is way better than the Western Conference, like way better. Like the top 5 teams are way better as a total than the top 5 teams in the West as it's currently constructed.
Except for my Phoenix Suns.
Except your Phoenix Suns. Your Phoenix Suns. And to shoot you some bail, the Phoenix Suns are the best team in the league, and I will not dispute that. But in totality, the East has just been tougher all year round rather than the West. And the Nuggets have struggled other than the last, their last month they've been hot. But Nikola Jokic, with all those gaudy numbers and all those advanced stats, again, your eye test doesn't tell you that. It tells you that you'd rather have Joel Embiid because he does more for you on the court.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Just out of curiosity here, is Mitchell Robinson better than LeBron James, Steph Curry, or Luka Doncic?
Yeah, but that's one step.
No. Wait. Hold on. Wait a second. I didn't say a word. While you were talking. Is Kevin Love better than Devin Booker, DeMar DeRozan, or CP3? No. And OKK is not better than Ayton, Durant, or Tatum, and Van Vliet's not better than Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker, or DeRozan, and Montrezl Harrell is better than Tatum, Steph Booker, Steph or Booker, and none of those of those guys. Hold on, wait a second.
Every single one. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3.
Listen to me, Justin. Those 5 stats are so overvalued because every situation is different. Like, are you gonna sit here and tell me that because Nikola Jokic has more win shares in a weaker conference, then he's more deserving of the MVP than Joel Embiid, who's had to go through the Miami Heat, who are, I say, the most complete team. You're obviously going to say the second most complete team out of the Phoenix Suns, who's had to go through them, the Bucks, who you love so much. Ever since going to Wisconsin, you love the Milwaukee.
No, before that, because Giannis is the
I know. I'm just joshing with you. That's not true either. But the Joel Embiid, who outside of the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors, when everybody was there and healthy, has Nikola Jokic really had to break a sweat over beating? The lowly Los Angeles Lakers, the lowly Los Angeles Clippers, like there's
Memphis
only
Grizzlies, Utah Jazz,
there are okay.
Dallas Mavericks.
The Utah Jazz aren't good, if we're being completely honest. Like, let's just really be serious here. I do believe that, and I've been saying that for a very long time now. The Utah Jazz are not as good as they seem. It's just all window dressing out there in Salt Lake City. And no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell. The point is,
mad disrespect to Donovan Mitchell.
I love Donovan Mitchell. I think he's great, but the Jazz, they suck. Like
they're better than the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors, though.
Yeah. I think the Utah Jazz are okay. They're not as good as what the media and what they make them out to be. But they're not trash, but they're not as.
I'm not saying they're trash. I'm saying there's not as good as this perception of like you see the Utah Jazz in the playoffs and you want to and you're shaking your. No one's shaking in your boots when they see the Utah Jazz in the playoffs, which is why a month and a half or so ago when I told you that if the Nuggets made the playoffs and matched up with the Jazz, I'd have the Nuggets win the series. It's because I don't trust the Jazz in the playoffs. Like I just don't. Like, and I say all that to say I love Nikola Jokic and I think Nikola Jokic is great. But the one thing that we always talked about all those years ago when LeBron James was in the East as a reason why he couldn't win MVPs was because he was in a weaker conference. He was just running through weak competition. Now, the Eastern Conference is the tougher division or the tougher conference. And here I am telling you that Joel Embiid in the tougher conference has been playing better and has been looking better. Like, it's not just about numbers. How does he look? He looks much more valuable. Like, he looks great. He's playing great. Nikola Jokic now in the weaker Western Conference is playing well. I'm not saying he's not playing well, but all of a sudden, the fact that this guy's in the weaker conference, that no longer matters. We can't keep moving the goalposts with the MVP conversation. If LeBron James was in the weaker East and that was the thing we held against him, we have to hold against Nikola Jokic him being in the Western Conference. I'm not saying you. I'm speaking generically, and I'm just saying that Nikola Jokic being in the West.
With me because I've never held it. So
we've only named 2, maybe 3 teams that are legitimate threats in the West.
Well, we'll get
any of the 6 teams or any of the 8 teams in the Eastern Conference has a shot of making it out. Like, we know that there's the brass of the Eastern Conference, but except for maybe the Raptors and the Cavs. So like 6 of the 8 teams in the Eastern Conference playoff picture right now can make it out of the Eastern Conference and be in the NBA Finals. We can't say the same thing for the Western Conference, and that means a lot when it comes to competition.
But I don't think that, but that's another conversation for another time. But I don't think all of the 6 teams in the top brass Eastern Conference are really title contenders. But again, we're here to talk about awards and not title races. So, Dwayne, you have a lot to get off your chest. So I'm going to give you the biggest question tonight. We've heard, the debates over MVP going over and over again. And this show is, symbolic of it because we're not in agreement. Partly, we feel, is it the best player in the league? Is it a situation where, it's the best player on the best team? Or simply the player with the most value to a particular team? So, Dwayne, what is your criteria for the NBA's MVP award?
Look up the definition of valuable and then put most in front of it, and that's my definition. Like, all love to Devin Booker, but first of all, he's not the best player on his team. But this best player on the best team nonsense, throw it out the window because that's not value. Best teams, number one, they usually have the best coaches. They usually have the best benches. They usually have the best supporting cast. So that you can throw that out the window. There have been instances in time, right? Say a Russell Westbrook, where narrative kind of dominates what happens. Setting the record for most triple doubles in a season. That fine, MVP award. That makes sense, right? There are other instances where the best player in the league happens to win it. Like all 4 times LeBron James won it. The time KD won it, the 2 times Giannis won it, I guess. Like the best player on the best team is not the most valuable player on that team because usually that team can still be okay, still be a playoff team without him, which is why I say Giannis Antetokounmpo, if you take him off of the Bucks for 82 games, the Bucks can still make the playoffs. And Justin, I don't care how many times you try to convince me otherwise. That's a fact, right? When you talk about an MVP, I think a guy that's been under the radar. I mean, I don't have him in the conversation now, but a guy that I thought was kind of in the conversation for a bulk of the season was DeMar DeRozan. Because when Zach LaVine was in and out of games, when Kobe White and all these other guys were in and out of games, Zach LaVine not only was DeMar DeRozan playing every single game of the season, but he was performing at peak DeMar DeRozan, and he's doing things for these Chicago Bulls. Now, they've fallen off since then, obviously. But at the time, when they were like second and third in the Eastern Conference, you look at DeMar DeRozan and say, hey, that's a player that deserves to be in the MVP conversation. Same thing for Steph Curry. Like,
he got all these great numbers against trash.
You're right.
They had an
right.
awful
But,
record against good teams. So this DeMar DeRozan love is nonsense. Enough. Chicago guys, I love you, but it's DeMar DeRozan. Enough. Like, we've seen him. We know who he is. He's not some magical, unkept gem that you guys just unlocked. He's been mid his entire life. He's a 2 or 3 guy.
But he's better than Chris Middleton, and that's the point. But that's the point. I think it's hard kind of to pinpoint who, in this instance, who the MVP is in the NBA, right? For the NFL, it's easier. It's usually just whoever has the best quarterback performance, or whatever non-quarterback has a really historical season, right? Now, we've seen in the NBA that historical seasons get precedent and they usually get MVPs. Hence, Russell Westbrook winning MVP in 2016, 17. Joel Embiid winning it this season, because again, there's only 2 guys in the history of the league that have ever posted up those numbers that he's posting, and they both won the league MVP. I think it's hard, but what I can say for sure is this best player on the best team thing, that's not the most valuable player in the league. Because, like I said, again, though the best team is usually the team that's built the best. So they have built a team that if they lose their best player, they'll still be okay. So when you're talking about MVPs, you're talking about guys that are kind of doing it by themselves, like a Joel Embiid, like a Luka Doncic, a Nikola Jokic, guys like that. Those are guys that you put in a conversation for the MVP. You don't put the defending champion Giannis Antetokounmpo in an MVP conversation, not because he's bad, but because you take him off that team still performs. Like, MVP to me is a guy that if you take Embiid off the 76ers, or if you take Jokic off the Nuggets, or if you take Luka off the Mavericks, where are those teams? Those teams are likely not making it in the playoffs. Like, they're not. That's what an MVP is, to me, at least. I guess that's what the criteria would be. But as far as specific bullet points, like this is a list of what it takes to be MVP, that's kind of difficult, because every season is different, and like you can have an historical season and be the best player on the best team, but still be considered most valuable. Like it's really weird. But just to say, okay, best player on the best team is MVP every single season, that's malarkey. I won't use that.
So
what's your criteria for MVP?
So here's my thing. I feel the same way about the NBA than I do for the NFL. I don't think you could I was going to say the word logically. I don't think that's the right word. I don't think you can fairly create a set of criteria that could just give you one MVP. So I don't think there is a good way to decide one true MVP. What is it? I don't like Dwayne's argument that you take the best player off the best team, and they're like, usually if you're the best player in the best team and they take you off, your team's already pretty good. There's very rare instances that the best player is so great that he literally carries the entire team, a la early, first run Cavaliers LeBron, or early 2000s Allen Iverson. Like those guys are rare to do those things. So I don't think there's a real cool way that you can put, okay, it's not the BCS. You can't just put things in a computer and they spit out what an MVP is, because we've already exposed how some of those stats can lie to you. So then what else do you got? You got the eye test, right? So let's like Joel Embiid just looks more like an MVP than Nikola does. Giannis looks more like an MVP to some people than Joel does. But then now you have to dive into numbers. So I actually truly don't believe in one singular MVP. I think there needs to be a way. I think the first team, they should compile like a starting lineup regardless of position. That's your MVPs, because again, you have a Russell Westbrook who averaged 3 triple doubles in 3 consecutive seasons. That'll never be done again. Like, where does the value lie in that? Because it doesn't translate to winning. Well, how fair is that if his team isn't good? You know what I mean? There's only so much that a player can do. Nikola Jokic has pretty good teammates. The roster construction's good. Joel Embiid has a pretty good roster around him. So does Giannis. So it's like, what's fair, right? And then I think back, I can't remember what year it was. It was sometime in the 2000, like maybe 2011 or so. Remember Ron Artest had that magical run with the Sacramento Kings and got them into the playoffs out of nowhere. To me, and Kobe won the MVP that year. But to me, Ron Artest was way more valuable for the Kings because it's a lot easier or a lot harder to go from a 15-20 win team to a 40 win team than it is to go from a 40 win team to a 60 win team. Like that jump to bring a team out of the abyss like that and make a playoff run is, to me, most. So how do you quantify what's valuable? So there isn't a good way to do it. I think there has to be a little bit of, okay, you have to be on a winning team, a playoff team. I'm not going to say a top 2 or 3 seed, but you have to be a playoff team. I can buy in the fact that maybe the 6th, 7th, or 8th seed team has the MVP of the league, because I have to take into account that
it's happened before.
The talent around them may not be as good as the 1, 2, or 3 seed. So that counts. And then there has to be a little bit of a little bit of the eye test, a little bit of the numbers. Your numbers have to be on par. We're going to talk about 6 man in a year in a little bit, and the numbers. The guy who's probably going to win it isn't, to me, a better player than the guy who should be winning it. But I would vote for the guy who deserves it this year, because that's what the award's about this year. But again, so I think honestly there should just be a panel of a couple guys, former MVPs, and you vote on it, and it has to look good. It has to feel good. The numbers have to be there, but then also what's on tape has to be there. Nikola Jokic just standing there jacking threes and averaging 30 points isn't nearly as impressive as Joel Embiid playing point guard, guarding all 5 positions, doing the little things like game-winning blocks that Nikola Jokic doesn't do defensively. So, there's a lot that goes into it, but I don't think there's like a bet. There's not you can't have a dead set way of defining what an MVP is. 2008, there it is. I knew it was like early, I don't know, 2011. Someone shout out to Sherlock Hemlock. Thank you. 2008, whatever year it was. I'm old now. Sorry.
I'm with a combination of both of you guys. Like, I threw out the argument of best player on the best team. Like, obviously that's just not good enough. The situation is, this is subjective, and it depends on what you like to look at more so than the others. It's a combination of y'all's, as y'all said, of numbers and importance to wins, importance to what your team brings. Because at the end of the day, most valuable has to count for something. And for me, I try to break it down simple, but it's really not. I think it's the hardest of the awards to choose, in my estimation. Because for me, Russell Westbrook would have never won an MVP, and not because of revisionist history, because we see how he looks now. But back then, I'm a guy, and still now, I don't like giving MVPs to players from lower seeded teams. As much as I put Jokic as my MVP, I'm a bit against it. So typically, I try to keep it as simple as the guy who is most important or most valuable to a team with a top 4 seed. And even in that simplicity, there is so much subjectivity to go and balance that off. Like, I just don't know. That's why I brought the two of y'all, because what the hell do I know? What I also don't know is that Giannis Antetokounmpo likely won't win the MVP Defensive Player of the Year double. But Jerm, I'm going to start with you this time. Is it a possibility that he can do that? And if not, who is your Defensive Player of the Year?
Defensive Player of the Year is actually pretty easy. They keep just lazily giving it to Rudy Gobert, even though he's probably the most overrated player in the league. It's Bam Adebayo down in Miami, okay? Easily. Because Bam plays all 5 positions defensively. He can guard them all. He's number 1 in defensive rating. He's number 1 in defensive rebounding. And he's number 2 in defensive shot quality, which, for the people who don't know, he alters shots, the second best in the league. So it's Bam, and it's always been Bam. And they keep giving it to Rudy Gobert for some reason, because he's just tall and lanky and he blocks shots, and to them that equals defense, even though there's way more to defense in there. Because if you've watched a Utah Jazz game, and I know a lot of you haven't, because the Utah Jazz as a team, as a franchise, are what Nikola Jokic is as a player. Boring. And so I'm not going to blame anybody for not watching a full Utah Jazz game. Sorry, Jazz fans. But
I don't
yeah,
see any
like,
here, so you're good.
yeah, there's never going to be any here. So, yeah, Bam Adebayo is the defensive player in the year. He's that Miami's been the best team in the East for probably 90% of the season, and a lot of that has stemmed from their defense, and that's because Bam Adebayo's there.
Same question, Dwayne. Who is your defensive player of the year, and can Giannis really do that double?
No, and he should never had the double the first time, but that's another conversation for another day. Didn't miss so many games. I'd say it'd be Jimmy, because I think Jimmy's the best defender on the Heat. But it's Bam. For all the reasons that Jerm mentioned, it's Bam. And I've been saying for a long time now that Rudy Gobert is a liability on defense for the Utah Jazz. And Justin Marvel and some other people have chastised me for that. Rudy Gobert is a defensive liability. Like, in today's game, a part of playing defense is defending the perimeter. If you can't do that, that makes you a defensive liability. You cannot look at me and say that, what is he, a 3-time defensive player of the year? There is no justifiable reason why a 3-time defensive player of the year has to be hidden on defense. That's an oxymoron. That shouldn't work. The defensive player of the year shouldn't be hidden on defense. You shouldn't have to have a defensive scheme that plays strictly to the strengths of a defensive player of the year who's really only good as a help side defender, and because he's tall and lengthy, he can get blocks from, like, as long as he's within yelling reach. Like, it's Bam Adebayo. He can guard the 1, he can guard the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. Like, anybody on the Miami Heat really are better defenders than Rudy Gobert, if we're being completely honest. Like, the same reason why I said that Ben Simmons should have been the defensive player of the year last year is the same reason why I'm saying Bam Adebayo should be the defensive player this year, because he's a more versatile defender. He has a bigger impact on the game defensively than Rudy Gobert does. The only reason why I think Rudy Gobert got defensive player of the year last year or the year before is because, for some god-awful reason, number one, that people are just being lazy, and number two, for some reason, the defensive player of the year has kind of just turned into the most valuable defender, and that's not the same thing. Like, it almost feels like they're treating the DPOY as MVP, but just on defense. That's not how it works. The defensive player of the year is the best defender in basketball, and right now, that's Bam Adebayo. Like, why? I feel like that's a no-brainer. I feel like the conversation for defensive player of the year should last about as long as the conversation for Peyton Manning being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like, it should last about 13 seconds. Like, it shouldn't take that long to come to that realization that Bam Adebayo has been a better defender this season than Rudy Gobert. Unfortunately, though, we'll probably see Rudy Gobert hosting another defensive player of the year trophy, even though he doesn't.
That's a lazy argument, because Kawhi Leonard won defensive player of the year missing, a bunch of games as well. There's nothing wrong with it, but again, to me,
that's what I'm saying. Like, if Jimmy won defensive player of the year this year, I wouldn't be mad at it, even though he's missed a whole bunch of games, because he's also a better defender than Rudy Gobert. Like,
some of the,
but I know they're not going to do that.
The plays I've seen Bam make defensively all over the court is amazing. And I see some comments, and I'm gonna let Justin go because I think one of the guys spoiled your pick, but a guard should never win defensive player of the year. I don't care. Go ahead. Sorry, Justin.
So, guys, again, comparison is indeed the theft to joy, right? So let me see. I love y'all pick of Bam Adebayo. That's name number 2, huh? And if Bam Adebayo does indeed get defensive player of the year, I'm not going to blink. I'm not going to bat an eye. I'm not going to say not well deserved, because it's indeed well deserved. I do love Bam Adebayo. The reason I can't give him is that these last 2 weeks, they stretched these 2 weeks, when we all saw Coach Spoelstra rip Jimmy Butler a new one, is because the Heat were just absolutely atrocious defensively over that 2 week span. And you may say it's just 2 weeks, but that 2 weeks almost cost them the number 1 overall seed. The guy, I'm sorry, Jerm, because both you and Marcus brought it up. In today's NBA, you have to be able to cover the perimeter. And the most important point of defense now is the point of attack. And the point of attack is no longer at the rim. The point of attack is at screen and rolls at the top of the arc. There is no one better right now, right? And again, I'm not upset with the pick of Bam Adebayo, but there's no one better than Marcus Smart. And the reason I love Marcus Smart as defensive player of the year, This is a Celtics team that started 17-19 on the year up. And then, like that, huge turnaround, and they get the number 1 seed in the East. They're not number 1 right now. And that had everything to do with their defense. Like everything, it was the defense or the defensive side of the ball that the Boston Celtics really made that dramatic turnaround. And that starts with Marcus Smart. Like, I do believe, like, if your guards are bad defensively, it doesn't matter how good of a shot blocker you are going to be bad. Look no further than the Brooklyn Nets. That's why I do not have Brooklyn to be a title contender. Because as good as Kevin Durant is, as good as Kyrie Irving is, Brooklyn Nets without Jerm's guy, Ben Simmons, are just...
That's not Jerm's guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm poking fun at
He meant the team. He meant the team. Yeah.
The team just has too many weak spots defensively on the perimeter that teams can target. They're going to headhunt Seth Curry. Teams are going to headhunt Patty Mills. They're going to headhunt Goran Dragic. And that is why it is so important at the point of attack that you are good defensively. And again, please make no mistake, I have no problem with the pick of Bam Adebayo. I just love what Marcus Smart does on a very, very excellent Boston Celtics team. Y'all can chime away at my pick now.
If Bam Adebayo was on the Celtics, he would be the best defensive player on the team. He can't block shot. Marcus Smart can't block shots the way Bam Adebayo plays. He can't guard any bigs, even though he does. Yes, he does guard some bigs. He's not guarding Joel Embiid. Sorry, Bam can, but Marcus Smart can't. He can guard taller. He's done it. I'm not poo-pooing Marcus Smart as a defender. He's an excellent defender. But if Bam was on the Jazz, he would be the best defender on the team. He would be tasked to guard the better player on the opposite side over Gobert because he's more versatile. I will take the Swiss Army knife over the butcher knife every day of the week. Gobert's a one-trick pony. Sorry. It's a good trick. It's a really good trick. It's my Randy Moss, Terrell Owens argument. Yeah, Randy Moss is really good. He's a one-trick pony. I'll take Terrell Owens over him, but because he can do more. Same thing with Bam. I wouldn't be mad. I would be mad if Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year. I wouldn't be mad if Giannis won it again. He's a really good defender. Again, same reasons Bam is. He's taller Bam, I guess. I wouldn't be mad at Marcus Smart because he's a pit bull. He's a bulldog. He gets in there, and I like that tenacity. It reminds me of Tony Allen. But I mean, Bam is just making a bigger impact based on, like, for Justin, that's why I brought out the numbers. You're a numbers guy, and I'm a numbers guy, and Bam's numbers prove it. I get that he missed a bunch of games, but it's, to me,
so too did Marcus Smart. So
right.
To be fair,
but the Celtics, and that's the other thing. The Celtics play really good team defense. Robert Williams goes down; they didn't miss a beat defensively, and he's a very important player on that team. So yeah, give me Bam, because if I took him and put him on any of the teams that we're mentioning, he would be the best defensive player on or off ball.
Marcus Smart is who Patrick Beverly thinks he is. I mean, that's kind of the best way to put it. Like Pat Bev does. I said the other day, and I mean this, I've never in my life, I may be exaggerating here, I've never ever with my own eyes seen Patrick Beverly live or highlight take a shot in a basketball game. I know he does it, but I've never seen it. Like, Pat Bev is just like this annoying little gnat that just flies around in your face. Marcus Smart is everything that Pat Bev thinks he is, and then some. I agree. I don't always think that a guard should win Defensive Player of the Year because most guards can't defend the 1 through the 5 and be as versatile as some of the other guys that we've seen win Defensive Player of the Year over the years. But if Marcus Smart wins Defensive Player of the Year, I'm not going to get mad at it. If Rudy Gobert wins Defensive Player of the Year, we're going to have an issue because he's just not. He doesn't deserve
Patrick Beverly is definitely like bizarro world Rajon Rondo, right? Like how Rajon Rondo's like the general, like offensively, he can, he's like the quintessential point guard. Like Patrick Beverly's like the opposite of that. He's just on defense. He's like in your face, and that's all he does. And all Rondo does is like assist and set up plays. I always felt like they were like evil versions of each other, which is hilarious to think about. All right, sorry.
Well, y'all thought y'all had it easy from the first half of the show, but here comes the hardest question right now, guys. Or am I not here? Oh, yeah, I'm still here. I thought I got knocked off. How close is this rookie of the year race? Because, guys, I went back and forth. Dwayne, I'm going to start with you. How close is this rookie of the year race, and who do you have winning it?
I don't think it's that close. I don't think the gap is massive. I don't think it's as close as people are making it, though. I have Evan Mobley as my rookie of the year. I had Evan Mobley as my rookie of the year when he was drafted. Like, and we talk about the impact that rookies have on their teams. Like, let's just put it in perspective, right? Most rookies are on very bad basketball teams. Most rookies that have strong starts to their career are because there's not really anywhere else for them to go, right? Evan Mobley, despite when going to the team was like kind of like a question mark. I think he's been like the best defensive player on the team. He's really been a reliable asset to a Cleveland Cavaliers team that, for the first time since LeBron James has left the Cleveland Cavaliers, either time, they're in the playoffs. Like, this is the first playoff team in Cleveland without LeBron James on the roster. And a lot of that's got to do with Evan Mobley. Like, yeah, Jared Allen's been playing well, and obviously you have to give your respect to Colin Sexton and Darius Garland as well. And there's no disrespect to those guys, but like, a lot of it really, I think, starts and ends with Evan Mobley. I know that Cade is in the conversation, right? Because it's Cade and he's the number one overall pick. And I don't think there's many times in history when the number one overall pick isn't in the conversation, more so because of merit of him being the number one overall pick than maybe because of what he's doing. Not saying that Cade's not having a great season, because I think he's playing well out there in Detroit. But my defensive player of the year is Evan Mobley. I think a lot of it, unlike with MVP, has to do with the fact that his team is a playoff team and Cade's isn't a playoff team. But like, again, like if Cade wins Rookie of the Year, I'm not going to be flabbergasted. Like, he was the number one overall pick for a reason, and if he's Rookie of the Year, it would make sense. He's been having a decent season. But if I had a vote, I'd cast my vote for Evan Mobley, because I think he's just been the most valuable rookie this season, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, which is kind of how I look at the Rookie of the Year award anyway. So yeah, I'd say it's Evan Mobley. But like, if you give it to Cade, I'm not going to look at you and say you're stupid. Like, it's okay.
What you got, Jerm?
If Cade Cunningham was playing the way he's been playing maybe this last month for a bigger part of the season, I would definitely give it to Cade Cunningham regardless of the standings, because he looks like the best player. There's a lot of deserving talent. Again, it's hard to pick a Rookie of the Year based on stats because all the rookies are going to bad teams. So by just using logic, I would actually probably land on Evan Mobley as well, simply because to me it was a two-person race. It was Scotty Barnes and it was Evan Mobley. The difference is Scotty Barnes' team has a better roster than Evan Mobley, and the Raptors were slated to be a playoff team and the Cavaliers were not. And all of a sudden they're right below each other in the standings, or right next to each other in the standings. So it's more impressive what Evan Mobley's doing. Now that roster is actually really good too. Good job by the Cleveland Cavaliers for constructing that roster. But I think Evan Mobley's a bigger piece of what's going on over there than Scotty Barnes is. And Scotty Barnes is a good player. He's going to be a really good player, and he does help the Raptors. But Cade, to me, is coming along. He's probably the best player. I really like Franz Wagner out of Orlando. He's a good player. Again, that roster, like that, Markel Fultz came back late. That team, it's the Magic. Like, it's going to take a while. But yeah, I would give it to Evan Mobley. I just think his impact on that team is more conducive to their success over a lot of the other guys.
So let me add this quickly. I do agree with y'all. I think Evan Mobley is the right answer here. Start by saying that. And me personally, I have a thing for players who impact winning. So Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes are on teams that are going to make the playoffs. Now, that is clear. Let me put that here again. I'm not here knocking anyone's pick. Evan Mobley is probably the right answer here. But I want to show Cade Cunningham a lot of love. And the reason I need to, you can arguably see Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes are helped by having all-stars and six-man of the year candidates on their teams. Like, Evan Mobley is huge with the success of Cleveland, but let's be honest, he has Darius Garland, who has become an all-star. He has Kevin Love, who is a six-man of the year candidate. And he had Jared Allen, who also made the all-star game, although he really shouldn't have, but, you know. And then Scotty Barnes has Pascal Siakam and then Fred VanVleet, who made an all-star game. So I want to see that they have good rosters around them. What Cade is doing in Detroit is putting up numbers with the three of us. That is what Cade Cunningham is currently playing with the three of us, right? Every night.
I'm not a bad basketball player, Justin.
Yeah, but you're not an NBA one either. And neither are the players in Detroit.
That's just because I didn't submit for the draft.
Oh.
Well, fair enough. But there are some players on Detroit that shouldn't have submitted for the draft either.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
When you're averaging 17, 5, and 5 as a rookie, and everyone knows it, it's Cade Cunningham and very little else, right? And I'm glad that my guy Jerm brought up a very salient point. Since the All-Star breakup, Cade is averaging 21 points on 47% shooting as a rookie. When everyone else hits a rookie wall, like Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes are starting to slow down, Cade Cunningham is finding that extra gear. And again, I am with you all. Evan Mobley probably should win the award, but I want to show Cade Cunningham some love. Because if I'm playing with me, Jerm, and Dwayne, he's on Bradley. I don't know if I'm averaging 17, 5, and 5.
Right. Yeah, for me, like I said, if he was playing this way all year, the way he's playing now, I would have no problem giving him. It's just the team success isn't there, and so I just can't. I'm not going to reward him for half a season of production over guys who've been doing it all year.
Anything else to add, Dwayne?
No, I just don't appreciate the insulting nature of your conversation as a way to bolster Cade Cunningham Rookie of the Year case. Like, bro, I'll drop 30 on you right now. It's not a problem.
He has two first names. I mean,
I have 3 if you include my middle name.
Oh, my God.
Come on now.
Dwayne.
If you don't drop 30 on a 40-year-old with 2
Yikes.
like, I am ashamed for you. So, yeah, y'all thought I was trying not to be or show my bias tonight. But, oh, no. I have one section that I do show my Phoenix Suns bias, and that's the very next question. Guys, I'll even let whoever wants to start. Monty Williams has to be a lock for Coach of the Year, right? Like, he just has to be.
Yeah.
A lock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like the word
I
lock.
love the word lock. I love the word lock. He has to.
I have him being he's the Coach of the Year. I just don't like the word lock. That's it. But yeah, he's the Coach of the Year. He's Coach of the Year.
Yeah, he's a lock.
Should have been last year.
The only other person I would probably consider, even though that kind of contradicts the word lock, but the only other, when I was thinking about this question earlier, the only person that I thought would put up a fight, but they're probably not going to give it to him, is Ime Udoka from Boston. Just what he's done with that team that nobody was expecting. And so other than that, Monty, he's the coach of the best team in the league. So it's that simple. There's no metrics. There's no advanced metrics. There's no, eye test. There's nothing that you can go by other than he's the coach of the best team in the best league. And so he's the Coach of the Year, straight up.
Can we just skip all the PG doctrine and the as Jerm would say, the verbal jerking off that we know you're gonna do and just get straight to the next subject? Like we know you're gonna pick Monty Williams, and that's number one. We know that you put this question in here so that you can do those things, but like you also knew that we weren't going to argue with you on this one. This was just to stroke your ego. Can we not do that? Can we just get to
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm gonna mute my mic. Go ahead, give it to him.
And like move on? Or you're gonna subject us, Neil, the viewers, and Marsha to listen to you spew on and on and on about how much you love Monty Williams as if we didn't already know that, dude. Like, I feel like if there was ever a time for you to, as Neil so eloquently taught me not so long ago, dipsy doodle and just kind of skip on to the next thing, this would be the time to do that. Because
No,
this
it's
is
an
a
award show,
consensus.
and we promised the viewers we are going to hit on all the awards.
No, we promised. We did. We have. I made my pick. Jerm made his pick. We knew when you put the question in there the way that you did that Monty Williams was your pick. Like, we all know the pick. We've made the pick. Let's move on to the next one. Like, the Grammys was last night. There's a time limit on these things, dude. We got a show to run here.
If I am indeed the villain, you always have to give the villain a monologue, a soliloquy, and I am indeed the ocean master of this show.
The villain always has to build something up. See, look at you. You can't even get the villain stories right.
No, I'm the ocean master of this year. So, yeah, here comes Ormno.
Yes.
I will give some love, unlike y'all, I will give love to other coaches. So, the Memphis Grizzlies are 20-2 with Ja Morant, which is extremely impressive, which is why I don't have Ja Morant in my MVP runnings anymore. So you have to give Taylor Jenkins all this love. And they're the second seed in the West. Like, who saw that coming? He made Udoka not only for his gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous wife, but the Celtics started 17-19. Yeah, you didn't see that coming. The Celtics started 17-19 on the year, and just like a flip of that, became the best team in all NBA after the All-Star break. Even got a share of the number one seed in the Eastern Conference at one point in time. So I have to share some love there. Who saw the Cavaliers coming? Who saw the Raptors coming? Absolutely no one.
Right.
But guys, if it is hard to play with a young team, imagine having to play with the expectations. Because the Phoenix Suns got to the NBA Finals, went up 2-0, and didn't win another game in the NBA Finals. Everyone thought, this is a team that benefited from all these injuries and they're going to fall flat in their face next season. All that this team has done is gone on to win, almost challenge Golden State for the best road record in all time. Like, they're going to fall a couple road wins short. They're a 62-win team as of this airing on Monday night. They've missed games without CP3. They've had games without Cam Payne. Cam Johnson, his team continues rolling. When you're top 5 in almost every offensive and defensive metric, it is easy, yes. Monty Williams is slam dunk coach of the year, and I just need to get that in because he was robbed last season, and y'all guys know it, and I just had to put in my Ocean Master villain soliloquy so we can move on now.
Shout out to Patrick. Shout out to Patrick Wilson. Played the greatest DC villain to date. So shout out to him.
Which isn't really much because DC villains have been trash.
Yeah, that's true.
So Nelton, I don't know. No one wants to hear me go on and on. So
nobody.
Yeah, no one.
Nobody.
So you can get to go this time, Dwayne. A harder category, I guess. Who's gonna win 6 man? Or better yet, who's your 6 man of the year?
I'm actually going to defer to Jerm on this one. For the simple fact that my 6 man of the year has been the guy who I predicted to be 6 man of the year from the beginning. That was Jordan Poole. That's not a sexy pick, but that's who I think that's who I think should win it. I mean, outside of just like, it's weird because I think he also has a strong argument to be most improved, and I'm kind of like torn in there. There are obviously some people in there though that I think will likely win most improved that aren't Jordan Poole, but like Jordan Poole has just been playing unbelievably well this season, and I say that, and it's not that he's doing anything crazy, but it's just when you look at what the Golden State Warriors were last season, and you look at what they are this season, like, yeah, a lot of it has to do with Klay having come back, but it also has to do with a lot of the improvement from the bench. And Jordan Poole has been like that main improvement. Like, we looked at, and they haven't done that well. I think the last 10 games since without Steph, they've lost all but 1 or 2 of them, I think. And so, like, that doesn't play well. But also, like, there were moments, even without Klay and all these other guys, when like Steph went in the lineup, we're like, okay, yeah, well, they're going to lose this game. Like, there's no way. Like, Jordan Poole has been incredible. He has improved greatly. He's become a reliable scoring option off the bench. And I think that's something that the Golden State Warriors have drastically been missing outside of obviously Clay and Steph due to injury and things of that sort. Like, I feel like that's something that's been drastically missing. So it's not a sexy pick, but my pick is Jordan Poole. I predicted that Jordan Poole was going to win the award in the beginning of the season. I don't really have like a long drawn out kind of case built the way that I'm sure Jerm has for whoever he's going to pass, for whoever he's going to pick. But I've got Jordan Poole as my sixth man of the year.
Go ahead, Jerm.
No, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
So the sixth man of the year clearly, undoubtedly, also has his talents down in South Beach. And that's Tyler Herro. For the simple fact that he's averaging 20 points per game. He's taking about 9-10 shots a game. He's been on fire, consistent. I went down the usual suspects. I could make a case for Kelly Oubre. I can make a case for Jordan Poole. I wish Jordan Clarkson, who's been like Mr. Sixth Man, he's like the new Lou Williams. Problem is he's like his production has just fell off a cliff the last couple of months. He went from averaging over 21 points a game. Now he's down to like 15. So he's out. Yeah. I can make a case for Kevin Love, the resurgence of Kevin Love. When I look at the numbers, I mean, Tyler Herro, just in the month of March, just in the last 10 or 12 games, he's averaging 24 points. So he's a big reason why Miami is still at the top. Again, just like there's not much deep dive you need to go to with the sixth man. It's who's the best bench player, first guy off the bench on the best team, who's helping them stay at that moment. And that's Tyler Herro. So I wish I had a longer drawn out answer. I tried to make an argument. I really did. I was like, I'm gonna make an argument for somebody else. And the more I look at the numbers and the more I do more deep dives, there's no argument to be made. Now, I don't think Tyler Herro is the best player out of the group I mentioned. I think Jordan Poole's a better player. I think Kevin Love's a better player. I think Kelly Oubre is a better player. But I can't ignore what Tyler Herro's doing. And hey, maybe Tyler Herro just finally is figuring it out. Maybe this is who he will be. And maybe he'll be a starter next year. Who knows?
I'm not going to drag this out. Jerm said it eloquently. Like, the numbers all support Tyler Herro. He's averaging 20 off the bench. He leads all bench players in offensive numbers. And, like, you can argue that he is the third most important player on the team leading the East record. Like, when you get past Jimmy Butler, you get past Bam Adebayo. The third most important player on the Heat is likely Tyler Herro. Mm-hmm. So he has the most points off the bench for all bench players. He's averaging 20 on the East leading Heat. I don't think we need to go any further.
Yeah. So
quickly, Jerm, over to you. Last award of the night. Maybe the toughest, because if we think that MVP is subjective, we have got something called most improved, and I don't know how you objectively define who is the most improved. So, Jerm, I'm going to leave it to you. 2020, 2021, 2022 NBA season, who has been your most improved player?
This was not a hard thing. This was actually quite easy. His name from the Duke Blue Devils, Tyrese Maxey, who stepped in from last year as a rookie, super pedestrian, who stepped into a starter's role to replace Ben Simmons and has helped Philly keep that thing afloat. He has jumped up so much, so unexpectedly, so fast that people were calling the Philadelphia 76ers big three of not Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tobias Harris, but Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey. Now, his last couple of games, he's dropped off, but for the most part of the season, he was giving us 30 spots, 30-piece chicken wings, okay? He was dropping them off, hitting game winners, clutch steals. How could it not be Tyrese Maxey, who turned into basically a superstar overnight? There's nobody else who's had that type of meteoric rise from one year to another. This is as close to what Julius Randle did a couple years ago for the Knicks than anybody in the league. Who else? Jordan Poole's probably a close one because he spent about half the year as a starter and nobody knew who he was as he was filling in with Clay. But I don't think he was doing anything that Tyrese Maxey was doing.
Jerm with another Philadelphia pick. We didn't see that coming.
Shocker.
Who'd you got, my guy? What you got, Dwayne?
I mean, originally I had Tyler Herro as my most improved player. Just for all the reasons that Jerm mentioned as to why he has him for sixth man of the year. He deserves it though. And it's not that I don't, and it's not that I didn't think Tyrese deserved it in the beginning. I think for me, like I said, Jordan Poole, I had him as my sixth man of the year. I had Tyler Herro as my most improved player. Likely what will happen is Tyler Herro will win sixth man of the year, and Tyrese Maxey will win most improved. But I mean, the case for Tyrese Maxey is there. I think especially given the circumstances and given how this season unfolded, the way that this season is folded, especially when you consider the fact that I think heading into all this, a lot of Ben Simmons apologists or people that just, I guess, watch basketball I think naturally assume that the power was still kind of in Ben's hands, even if he was never traded, because of the fact that people expected there to be a steep drop-off in production because of his absence. Tyrese Maxey has not only met those expectations and silenced all those doubters, but he's exceeded them by a lot. Like Tyrese Maxey has been a phenomenal player this season. I was split between Tyler Herro and Tyrese Maxey because, like I said, I had Jordan Poole winning Smody, but Tyrese Maxey will probably win it because he's been great this season.
I had a buddy who's watching the show. Shout out to him. Text me two letters, Ja. And I said, hold on.
No.
There's a reason why Ja is not most improved player. Ja is supposed to be one of the best players in the league. Ja was drafted to be who he is now. It's not a shock. Yeah, he's starting off slow. Tyrese Maxey was not drafted to be one of the leaders of the Philadelphia 76ers, of one of the top seeded teams in his conference. Matter of fact, the opposite is happening for Ja Morant. They look like a better team without him. Now, I'm not delusional. I'm not going to say, but they're 20-2 without him. So I don't know what else, how else can you say that? Now,
it's not a bad basketball team.
So it's not a bad team. So like to me, his elevation is a product of the fact that his team is so damn good around him. But Tyrese Maxey was drafted to be a role player. He wasn't drafted to replace Ben Simmons because at the time, Ben Simmons is supposed to be here. He was supposed to supplement Ben Simmons. He was supposed to be our sixth guy. And now he's a legit starter in the league, averaging 17 points per game. Like I said, he was up near 20 up until the last week or two because just the way the team has been playing, and they're doing a lot of different things with the lineups. But Tyrese Maxey definitely most improved.
Yes, because I didn't see these two ganging up on me like they usually do.
You and Steezy jumped me a couple weeks ago, so I think this is karma.
We brought out the baseball bats and everything. He didn't see it coming at all. It was
if I had a haircut, it wouldn't have happened that way.
That's funny.
It's okay.
It was like an episode of X-Men. If you ever watch X-Men, they gang up on people.
Yep.
And you're enjoying this way too much. The smile on your face is just a little bit too. See, it be own people. It be
own folks.
So,
snake in my grass.
This is so hard, right? Because, like, if we think MVP is subjective, my word, like, how do you really objectify improvement? So I had a list. I wanted to go with DeJounte Murray, Desmond Bain, and I wanted to say Darius Garland. I was gonna even go Miles Bridges. Like, it were that's such a huge list, right? But for me, the leap that has always been hardest when you look at players, and there's so many players who just can't make that leap, it's from star to superstar. It is the hardest leap to really, really make. And I know you guys want to say this guy was drafted to be there, but he was drafted to be a star. No one in their honest mind, with the exception of the Memphis front office, can possibly say they expected Ja Morant to be this guy. Like, you expected him to be a star, yes. But to be a superstar, he went from averaging last season 19 points, right? I want to say to almost 28 points per game. And typically with that rise, you're going to lower your efficiency numbers. So your shooting numbers are going to be a little bit more or less because your rise in usage rate. Guys, he is dropped from last season 45 from the field to 49. That is almost LeBron-esque. Like shooting 49% from the field from a small guard who is taking threes and he's shooting them at 34 a clip. He's also taking his rebound numbers from 4 to almost 6. And I'm not against, like, I'm saying this is subjective, right? So any group of these young players, like, I'm not going to be mad. But making the leap from star to superstardom is so hard. Just ask legit how many superstars are there really in the league? Because it's easy to become a very good player, a little bit harder to become a legit star. But a superstar, there are like, what, a handful to 10 of those in the league. And I honestly did not expect Ja to make this leap.
Wait,
Go ahead,
so
man.
let me just make sure I'm understanding you correctly here. Love Ja. Ja's great. You have Ja as one of the 10 superstars in the league?
Yeah, like, and I'm going to list them for you. Like, obviously, the three that we called tonight, LeBron, KD. I kind of look at Kyrie a bit different. Like, he is a superstar talent, but he is not a superstar impact player because he does not know when and where. Like, he is so talented, but he just doesn't understand. Then you have players like Steph, and I don't know if you can call many other players right now at this moment better than Ja Morant. Obviously, Luka Doncic. Yeah, like, there's no ifs, ands, and buts.
Okay. So you've got LeBron, KD, Steph. Even though you didn't say his name, I know you want Giannis on that list as well. I said I know you didn't say his name, but like of course Giannis is on that list as well. So LeBron, KD, Steph, Giannis, and Luka, who I think for most people believe that is most people's top 5 players in the league, at least entering this season, right? Joel Embiid's name has to be on there at this point,
right,
given two seasons back to back. Given what he's done, I think he's a superstar. Yep. I think you can make. I don't know if it's a strong one. I think you can make a case that Nikola Jokic is a superstar.
No, the hell you can't. No,
I don't.
Yes,
I don't.
No,
I'm not.
It's blasphemy.
Hold on, Jerm. I don't think he's a superstar, but people will make a case for Jokic that he is a superstar. Even though we didn't see him play at all this season, Kawhi Leonard's a superstar. So what are we at, like 7 or 8? I can see. I'm always just so hesitant to put a young guy in superstar status, just because I think a lot like it's great to do it in the regular season, but the one thing that I always say you have to do as a superstar, you have to do it in the postseason. Like, and until we see Ja do it in the postseason, I'm not really going to say that he's a superstar. Yeah, I think he's on the precipice, right? I think he's on the precipice of superstardom, because he's insanely talented. And right now, what I know for sure is he is definitely on the list of guys where you pay the price of admissions no matter where you are in the country to go see him play. Like, you want to go buy a ticket, even if your local team sucks. You will pay the price of admission. Like me, the Wizards stink, but if the Grizzlies come to Washington, I'd pay $30 to go sit in the nosebleeds to go see Ja Morant play basketball because he's a box office, 100%. I think Ja's box office. I don't know if he's a superstar yet, though. I don't know if he's supposed to, but it's if you I'm not gonna look at you and say you're crazy for saying that he is. I just don't have him there. I also, just so Jerm cannot hate me, because I don't want Jerm hating me, because I need him to come on the show Wednesday without any ill will. I don't think Jokic is a superstar. I know that given what we've seen out of Jokic the last 2 seasons, people I think are starting to make a case for Nikola Jokic to bump him up as well into that superstar stratosphere. I'm not going to do it just yet.
Peyton brings up a good point. What defines a superstar? Production or media hype? Both. It's exactly. You could be Nikola Jokic is
and also what you would do. Like, your accomplishments definitely matter as well.
Yeah, but Nikola Jokic is a star. He's a star player. He's not a superstar player. He's just a really good. He's really good. He's a star, but he's not a ticket. He's not box office.
A guy because he's going to win this MVP, whether two of you like it or not. He's going to win this MVP. He's going to be back-to-back MVP, and it's going to be hard to argue a guy with successive MVPs is not a superstar.
Listen, the guy who played, they're not going to give.
And that's why I think that the MVP just criteria in winning it is so, because MVPs hold a lot of weight. Not just as far as
contest too.
Like,
so like,
right? You know what I mean?
Jokic
like,
is flavor of the month. The Sixers aren't taking off as much as as people thought they would with James Harden, and that kind of hurts.
We have to remember too, like, if I'm not in Jerm, you know it better than me. The Sixers also sat both Joel Embiid and James Harden for a considerable amount of time at one point. Yeah. Like there was a week or two when they didn't play any games. Glenn I know they've fallen down the records, but I know they've fallen down the standings because I know they were like number 2 or number 1 at one point, and they've fallen down to like 4th. But like that has to do with it because they just sat Joel and James for those for 2 weeks
they sat James for a couple games and Joel didn't play on 2 of the back-to-backs. But to bring it back to the most improved player, Tyrese Maxey in his rookie season averaged 8 points a game, 1 rebound a game, 2 assists per game, shot 46% from the field goal percentage, 30% from the 3-point line. And so now he averages right now 17 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists a game, shooting 48% and 41% from 3. So he had a 9-point jump. Now, I'm going to bring that back to Ja Morant from last season because obviously he's not a rookie, but from his last season, he averaged 19 points per game. So he went from averaging 17 points in his rookie year to 19 points per game. Now he jumped up to 27. Good for him. He only had an 8-point jump rather than the 9-point jump that Tyrese Maxey had, and this was his 3rd year because his jump from rookie year to his sophomore year isn't nearly as impressive as what Tyrese Maxey did. So to me, that carries more.
And most players go into a sophomore slump.
Yes,
too. Like your sophomore or your 3rd season is usually your sophomore. That's why it's called most players go into a sophomore slump. So for Tyrese Maxey to do what he did, do what he's done this season to really eliminate a lot of the questions about the 76ers heading into were the 76ers going to be a playoff team this season? Of course. But there were still questions of what Tyrese Maxey would do now that he had to completely fill Ben Simmons' void, as opposed to what Jerm was saying earlier, just be the guy that fills in those minutes when Ben is sitting on the bench. Because that's what he was there for initially. So to do all of that, yeah, Tyrese Maxey's most improved. And he got a shot to win a championship this year too. It's a beautiful life to live.
Not if James Harden continues to play the way that James Harden is known to play in the playoffs and how he is playing right now.
Yeah.
I'll give y'all guys your closing statements before I let y'all plug yourselves and get out of here.
Listen, Monty Williams is the coach of the year. Shout out to my guy Justin and the Phoenix Suns. Joel Embiid is undoubtedly the MVP. Evan Mobley's the rookie of the year. Tyrese Maxey's most improved. The MVP is not just Nikola Jokic goofily dribbling down the court and jacking up ugly catapult 3-pointers, but he's good. He's okay, but nobody's picking him over Joel Embiid. If this is a pickup game and we're all at the YMCA, guess who's getting picked first? MVPs don't.
Giannis.
Maybe Giannis. I would argue, yeah. If this was a Giannis Embiid debate, I'd be more on that side. But this is a Jokic Embiid debate, and Mr. 0 minutes in the 4th quarter of the All-Star game is never going to be my MVP.
Well, I think he also wouldn't be MVP because you're a Sixers fan, and Joel Embiid, who is a strong MVP candidate, plays with the Sixers. I don't have any closing statements. Just except for the fact that the greatest episode of the #ThisJustin Sports Show to ever grace your TV and computer and phone screens and your ears takes place next Monday. Why? Because I'm gonna be here. Not just I'm not just gonna be here. I'm gonna be hosting it. And all this nonsense soliloquies that we just saw Justin Marvel spill because he felt like it to stroke his own ego. I won't do that because I'm a good host and I listen to the audience. I listen. No one wants to see me stroke my ego. No one wants to see Justin stroke his ego, but he does it anyway. This has been so many months in the making. The coup is complete. You'll never see Justin on this show again. I have nothing to say about it. If we're being completely honest.
But guys, he is correct.
It might suffer from it.
No, I'm just joking. Dwayne does a good job when he fills in, and he is correct. I am indeed taking a 1-week hiatus, but the show always has to go on. So Dwayne Marcus or Dwayne or whatever he is, as Jerm says, depending on which week we are talking to him, that's just a joke. he will indeed be filling the space because the show has to go on. So before we hop on out of here, first, Jerm, thank you as usual for coming on. Plug yourself. Tell the people what you got coming up next.
Yeah, I'm Jerm from one half of Stuff About Sports. You can catch us on all your socials at About Sports, hashtag Stuff About Sports, www.giveusashot.network. If you can't find us, you're not looking hard enough. I got a show tomorrow with me and Bert. In respect to Bruce Willis retiring from acting, we are power ranking Bruce Willis movies. We're playing over, under, properly rated with stadium food. We have a live show coming up at the end of April. Mike is coming down, and we're going to talk and we're going to talk some baseball, and we're going to talk some of these NFL moves as training camp players start reporting for OTAs and things of that nature and showing up to facilities. We're going to start doing way too early predictions on the NFL.
If you don't have, I know it's not a film, but if you don't have Moonlighting Towards the Top, I am going to put a petition to cancel Stuff About Sports and Jerm and Bert, because Moonlighting is one of the best things that Bruce Willis has ever done. Yes, I see Dwayne looking at me. Go look up, type the name, Sybil Shepherd.
I am 99.9% sure that is before my time.
Yeah, Dwayne was definitely living in his dad's balls when that movie came.
Moonlighting is one of the first things that Bruce Willis ever did. So yeah, it is way before your time.
Yeah.
Dwayne, I know you're returning, or in fact, you have returned because you were there for WrestleMania. So plug yourself, my friend.
First of all, like I said, if you don't watch any other show this year, make sure you watch next week's show because it's gonna be great. I'm gonna be here with whoever, and you know what's gonna happen? Justin's gonna try to sabotage me by picking terrible topics and terrible guests for me to work with. No, I'm just kidding. Whoever the guests are, I love you. I didn't mean that. In all seriousness, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at GTalk Marcus. You can follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Go Talk with Marcus. Justin is correct. Originally, I was supposed to return this Friday, but WrestleMania was this weekend, and I can't have a wrestling podcast and not talk about WrestleMania. So, the most stupendous WrestleMania preview show ever, featuring my guy Salva Salo Sports in the Big Apple, is out now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can give it a listen. Wednesday, since I'm already back, I figured I might as well just keep things rolling. Wednesday, for the first time in a long time, I'll be talking NFL. Jerm and Bert will be there, Stuff About Sports, and one or two other people will be live on YouTube. And it'll be available on Thursday morning, 12 p.m. on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. So, as Jerm said, if you can't find me, you're not looking hard enough, be sure to follow, click on all the buttons and stuff, leave the 5-star ratings and all the good things that the people do. Also, my birthday day is at the end of May.
Oh,
okay. It's no, it's at the end of May. All right. We're about like 7 weeks away. I don't ask for a lot of things from people. That's not true. But the one thing I would like is right now I'm sitting at 85 subscribers on YouTube. I would love it if for my birthday I can wake up on May 26th, 2022, bright and early on Thursday morning with 100 subscribers. That's all I want for my birthday. So if we can do that, I'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, like I said, the greatest episode of the hashtag This Just in Sports show starring me next Monday, 8 o'clock. Be there. I don't really care if you're not there because you're gonna watch it eventually, and it's still gonna be great. But just watch it because I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, let's get our guy Dwayne 100 subscribers on his 17th birthday out there on May 26th.
My 19th birthday.
I know I give these guys a hard time, and they do so in turn. But please, their shows are great must-watch. Not great shows; they are must-watch shows. So wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you get your sports, please go and check Go Talk with Marcus and Stuff About Sports and the Divine Line. These are great shows. I'm not just plugging them because they're on my show. I, too, am a fan of their shows. I make sure to watch them. So wherever you get your sports, wherever you get your podcast, please do go. Not just watch, not just subscribe, but hit that like button, smash it. And do the same here. All of Jerm's followers that came on tonight, all of Dwayne's followers that came on tonight. If you want content, great content like this, hit that subscribe button, please. And especially if you just want to see Dwayne because he will be indeed hosting this same time, this same channel next week, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can come here or just watch the replay, but Dwayne will be here, likely talking NFL with a star cast. So for Jerm of Stuff About Sports, Dwayne, that you will see back in the same space from Goat Talk with Marcus, I am indeed the Justin of hashtag this Justin. Don't let them fool you. Thank you so much for watching and tune in next week.
Peace.
I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Johnny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, ain't no matter here just the same. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I said, can I be a legend? Search your soul and answer me this question. Do you think I have what it takes to be great, but still be humble and learn from my mistakes? Shit.